Good morning and welcome to Crazy Horse Memorial. Okay. Well, I'm going to watch you for the cue when it shows up.
Okay, now you can go.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning on Facebook Live here. I am Andrew Donahue, Museum Curator and Director of Cultural Affairs for the Indian Museum of North America here at Crazy Horse Memorial. Joining you this morning for our Makhoche Keen presentation. This is the third part in a presentation that we've done with our friend Darrell Red Cloud. These presentations were something we discussed in the springtime and in the winter about wanting to discuss the seasons, the land around us, and the traditions with the Lakota people associated with the land. And so things have changed, obviously, for this presentation. Originally, we were going to be outdoors, talking about the land itself. And in light of the interest for public health and safety and in response to the outbreak of COVID-19, our staff has turned these into these digital presentations. You should have seen us last month. Hopefully you did join us last month when we did a presentation where we built a teepee out in the Cultural Center here at Crazy Horse Memorial. And Darrell was here with us then to present and to talk about this concept of Makhoche Keen and the presentation about the land. So this is our third and kind of final for the winter, but this is just the beginning of more presentations that we want to do to talk about these kinds of cultural traditions tied to the seasons and tied to the land here at Crazy Horse and throughout the Black Hills. And it's also an opportunity for us to kind of expand upon different things that we discuss within the collections and come to you when you can't come to us. So we're very happy to have you join us here this morning. And I want to introduce my friend Darrell Red Cloud, who will be talking with us today. I should say that during this time, we'll be doing questions. Hopefully here in a little bit later, we're going to take some time to do questions live since we're live. And after the presentation, I would encourage you to ask questions for Darrell and for us, and we'll do our best to answer on Facebook in the comments section as well. So Darrell, good morning, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Good to be on and kind of excited to share a little bit of our cultural history and what it means, what the Makhoche, the land, means to our people, pertaining to the Black Hills and Mother Earth as a whole. And I'm glad to be on, Andrew.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to have you, at least on the digital spirit here with us here, as opposed to not being able to have you here to see us in person. Just real quick, in case anyone's kind of interested, just as a backdrop, a piece from our museum collection. This is the work of Potawatomi artist Woody Crumbo. This is a silkscreen painting that he did. I'd have to look at the year, I'm sorry. I have to look at the artifact record, but this piece is entitled The Spirit of Spring. So I thought it would be kind of an interesting thing to add to the presentation here, the rather kind of artistic deer here, and the Spirit of Spring awakening. And that's kind of one of the things we wanted to talk about today, in particular about springtime. While, of course, many of us are stuck within our homes right now, this is the time for rebirth and regeneration on the earth in the springtime. And so that's one of the things I wanted to first and foremost talk with you, Darrell, about, and how this idea of springtime relates to Lakota culture.
Amongst our people, we recognize each and every season that comes about. And the number 4 is very important to our people. We say each season is, in our language, the season that we're in right now is the spring, and we call it wetu. And during this time of the year, things are coming new. Mother Earth is waking up, and the birds are singing their songs, and at certain times during this time of the year, there is stories of our people that went back and they told the stories of how creation began, some of our creation stories, some of our stories of this time of the year. And a story that really brings this to light is the story of Mother Nature. And the story goes like this. In this story, I'll be using a little bit of Lakota language, and I'll be translating it as we go through so that you could follow the story through. So first of all, Lila ihani. Ohunka kaki hina, che wo oyakapi. Lechum se oyakapi. A long time ago, the old ones told it like this. And this is the way they told it to me. They say our people were moving throughout the land, following the Tatanka, the buffalo, looking for something to eat and gathering medicines and nutrients from Mother Earth and so forth. But at that time, for some reason, it was hard to find that food source, the buffalo, the elk, the deer, and different herbs and so forth. Our people found themselves near the Black Hills, and they found an area that they were going to camp at, nice and level along a waterway. And the waterway was just about dried up, they said, down to like a trickle. And the people decided to set up their camp in this big circle. And as they were setting up this camp, the warriors got together and they talked about it amongst each other. And they decided to go find something to eat in search of the tatanka, the buffalo, the hechaka, the elk. And they gathered in the center of the circle and they did their ceremony. Of course, our people, when they're doing things, they add their spiritual beliefs onto it. And that's what the warriors did at that time. They prayed to Creator and that they could find the animals and food sources and so forth. So the warriors gathered in the center and they did their ceremony, and they also put on their feathers and got their weapons ready and so forth. And they made their way out of the village. After the warriors left, then the rest of the people helped one another to put up the teepees, the lady folks and the elderly people and some of the younger children and the younger warriors that stayed behind. As they went about setting up their teepees, out of one of those teepees, there was a young mother that came out. She looked around in the surrounding areas and for any sign of the warriors coming back with something to eat. But there was no sign of the warriors. So she calls out to her children. She says, "Wanakupo, wanakupo, watapikelo. Come back now, we're gonna eat," she says. Sure enough, there was two little children that came running back to the teepee, one little girl and one little boy. She gathers them up by the hand and she takes them into the teepee. She sets them by the fire that burns within. She digs around in her belongings and she pulls out one piece of dry buffalo meat, her last one. And as she puts it onto a stick and cooks it over the flame, the aroma of the cooking meat circles within inside the teepee. No sooner than it goes out through the opening on top, there's a voice from the outside. "Dua ena yankahuo. Dua ena yankahuo. Is there anybody here?" The young mother puts down what she's doing and she calls to the door. She says, "Tima hiwe, Tima hiwe, come on in," she says. The door slowly opens and in steps a lady, real long hair, gray. The buckskin dress she had on had holes in it here and there. The moccasin she was wearing looked like she came from a long ways. She tells the young mother, "I smelt what you was cooking, so I came. Where I come from, my people, they need help. If you share just a little bit of that with me, I'll take it back to my people. They need help." So the young mother looks at her children. She looks back at the elderly lady at the door. She breaks off a piece of the dry buffalo meat and she hands it to the elderly lady at the door. The elderly lady says, "Wopila, lila pilamaya, lila wopila." "Thank you. Thank you very much," she says. And before she leaves the teepee, she tells the young mother, "Tomorrow morning, when the new day starts to come, when the dawn daylight starts to come, the morning star comes up, gather all your people and take them to the top of the hill to the east. On the other side, You'll find what your people need. Then she turns and she leaves the teepee. So the young mother goes about feeding her children, and after she gets done feeding her children, she gathers them up by the hand and she takes them out to over to the big lodge where the elders are sharing words of wisdom, knowledge, talking about where the buffalo might have went to, the tatanka, the elk, the hechaka, where the harvesting of our medicines and our essential foods might be growing. She goes inside the lodge with her children. She tells the elderly people about the lady that came to her teepee and what she said. So the elderlies tell her, "Ohancha, hiya niki hechia uyampik telo." Okay, then tomorrow at that time we'll go see what's on the other side. So the young mother brings her children back to their teepee. This time she takes them in and she lays them down on some nice soft buffalo skin to get some rest. Sure enough, the morning star comes up and the dawn daylight starts to come. She gets excited and she wakes up her children and she takes them back over to the lodge, the big council lodge. Sure enough, people already heard about it, about what was going to take place. So they started to gather and make their way. Some of the young folks, some of the ladies and so forth, some of the elders, they got their walking sticks and they started to make their way. The little children came running about. They were excited because everybody was gathering and going somewhere. As they gathered and they made their way to the top of the hill, by the time they got to the top, the sun was coming over the horizon. What they seen was one of the most beautiful sights they've ever seen before. The birds were singing their nice, beautiful songs. There was clouds here and there in the sky. The sun was coming up over the horizon. So far down off to one way, down at the bottom of the hill, you could see in one direction, you could see Tchatanka, the buffalo. So far off in this direction, you could see Hechaka, the elk. So far down the way, you could see a few deer jumping, playing in the fields. At the bottom of the hill, there was a nice, clear spring stream was running by, fresh water. Along the stream, there was different berries of different kinds growing. Further down the way, there was natural medicine and herbs and vegetables that Mother Nature provides for all to help themselves. The people, they seen all of this down there and they got happy. They made their way down the hill and they got to the waterway. Some of the children were happy that there was a fresh drink of water. They went and got themselves a fresh drink to replenish themselves again. Some of the young warriors that stayed behind, they got their bow and their arrow and they went out hunting the tatanka, the elk, the buffalo. The lady folks went about the berries and they started to pick some of the berries. Some of the other folks went down the waterway and started to gather the medicines and the herbs and the vegetables that Mother Nature provided. As the people were gathering all of this down there, on top of the hill stood the chief, the medicine man, and the young mother. The two men, they told the young mother, "The woman that came to your teepee last night was Mother Nature, Unchi Makhoche." They told her, when she said, "my people," she was talking about all of creation, the grass, the flowers, the trees, the animals, the ones that fly in the sky, the ones that walk on four legs, the ones that swim in the water, talking about all the vegetation, the trees, the flowers, the herbs, the medicines that grow, the water that flows and helps everything to grow, the wind that blows that provides breath of life, the sun, the moon, the stars. All of this creation was her people. So they said, from this day forward, what little creator has blessed Mother Earth with, we will gather a little bit Give thanks to Creator. Give thanks to Mother Earth, Makhoche. Put a little bit into a pouch. Give thanks and dig a little hole in Mother Nature and give back. For she takes care of us day after day, year after year, generation after generation. We will do this ceremony when the birds fly back over again, when the little deer are being born with spots on their back. And we will call this Makhoche, a new year, a new beginning, a new life again here on Mother Earth, Makhoche. Since that time, our people have done this ceremony every year whenever this wetu, the springtime, comes again. We gather what little Mother Nature has given us throughout the last year that went by, our dry meat, our berries, our herbs, and gather a little bit of water and so forth, and give that acknowledgement to Creator and creation and Mother Earth, and give back so all can be provided for again. So what today, that those things happen still today, even though the situation is the way it is out there today. That ceremony still took place. Just last week, it happened. One of my elder brothers, they went about that ceremony. This ceremony is done. It's been being done year after year, generation after generation. It's a real old ceremony. An acknowledgement of sacredness, of creation, of Creator. And they say this ceremony even goes back further than the Ptesawi Chanupa, the sacred pipe that came to our people. This way here was a one-way type of a life. There was a sacredness to it. And very, very few people know this amongst our people. Not saying that these other ceremonies are not sacred. They are all sacred in their own way, in their own realms and so forth. But this is one of the original ways of the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people. So this is how it's been coming. And we practice this as we move throughout the land. And when we're moving throughout the Baja Sapa, the Black Hills and so forth, we come together and we do these ceremonies in different sites throughout the Black Hills, making our way, acknowledging the four directions, acknowledging the medicines and things that are growing at certain times, making our way to our annual place of Sundance and ceremony. So those are just parts of what we do and how we go about things amongst the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people. And there's stories of all of this pertaining to the Black Hills and different areas. We gather medicines and by different waterways. We gather different herbs and so forth that we use as part of our diets and so forth. Just like the animals and so forth, the animals, the elk, the deer, different animals, we watched them, we paid attention to them. And what grew upon the Makhoche, the land, is what we utilized as people as well. We seen that the deer ate these and it got stronger. We seen that the elk ate these certain herbs and plants, and the bears ate these berries and so forth, and they gathered that strength and they developed that mightiness about them. So we utilized those things as well as we went about upon the Makhoche, the land, Mother Earth. So we, at certain times of the year, we gather those as well as we go about and we follow the animals. And we were tied so close to Makhoche, the land, and all the beings, the animals and the birds and the plants and so forth. They say we were so in tune with all of this creation that we were just about ready to touch a wild animal, but because of respect, that was never done. That's how close we were together on this big circle of life. And maybe that circle has been broken somehow, some way. That's the reason why it's running the way it's running upon Mother Earth today. Those are just my personal thoughts. What do you got to say, Andrew?
Firstly, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that story. this was, always one of the things that we discussed with Darrell and I that we wanted to share with everyone that has joined us today. And it's important to have an understanding of where these kinds of traditions come from and why they're important. And in that way to help to educate, because I know people are curious. And I know we've touched a little bit and talked about how there are certain places in different times where there are certain things that are sacred. Some of the questions that have come to me from people that have joined us for this program in the last couple of months, the last 3 months now, they're kind of curious about the specifics, about some of the different things that might have been harvested, what kinds of specific things might have been harvested at this time in particular throughout the Black Hills. Could you share some of that with us, Darrell?
Along the waterways, there's different types of medicines. In our Oglala Lakota College on the Pioneers Reservation, there is their Woksapetipi, their library. And in that library, if you go to that website, they do have a website, Oglala Lakota College .edu at edu. But if you go to their library, they do have all these plants that are set up to where they have the Lakota names to them and what they were used for. But along the way, amongst our people, we gathered, they say there's even medicines to help you with the common cold. There's like the sage and the bear root and the different medicines that would help. They say there's even medicines out there that would help the lady folks to control their lifestyles and so forth. And to help them with their pregnancies and things like this. And amongst our people that we utilize those medicines, and only the medicine man would know which medicines were to be utilized. And this medicine man, he would go amongst the people and he would find maybe one of the young males and a young female, and he would take them under his wing, so to speak. And he would teach them these medicines and these songs and these things about Mother Nature. And this would be almost a whole lifetime. He would teach them and so forth. So when it became his time to either step away from that medicine man, or it came time that he passed away, then these medicines and the way of our medicine people, women and men, they would carry these knowledge of the medicines and so forth into the future, for the future of the people. These medicines still grow today within the Black Hills and throughout the country. All indigenous people had their medicines here and there throughout wherever they came from. So they still grow today, but because of our people becoming more and more assimilated and so forth, we come to depend on different drugstores and things like that. But today there's a lot of our people that a lot of our medicine men that do still have that knowledge of those certain plants and certain things that are still carried today. Mm-hmm. And they try to keep them in a sacred manner to where not everybody knows all about them, and not because they have the sacredness about them. Right. Amongst our people, they say Creator created all of this around us. So everything that Creator created has a sacredness about it. Even the plants. You go and you dig up the plants and you take the medicines and so forth. You give a little bit of the sacred tobacco. You put that on the ground. You give thanks to Creator. Then you take a little bit of that medicine. And from there, they say that this medicine has a spirit in it. A spirit just like the trees and the flowers and the animals and so forth. All of what Creator created has a sacredness about it. So you got to do things in a respectful, understandable manner. So then after you partake of it, then that blessing that Creator put inside of that medicine, it's going to benefit you from the inside out. It's going to heal your heart, your mind. It's going to get rid of the sickness that you're feeling and so forth. You're going to get stronger, and it's always going to be in your system. Once you take it, it's always going to be in your system. So you got to watch how you whatever you take into your system after that. You start to identify what's good for you and what's not good for you. Even your thought process. They say you try to take the good things, learn the good things, and apply the good things in you. That way, this medicine is going to be in you and it's going to stay in you and it's going to help you for a long time.
Thank you so much, Darrell. Kind of going back to a little bit about what we'd introduced and earlier discussed. The fact is that with this program and with the kinds of things that we've talked about in this time, there was the choice in title that we made, that we wanted to discuss the land in particular. And so in translation, a discussion of Makhoche King and meaning the land, there's an important understanding there that you've discussed with me that I'd love for you to share with our viewers as well today, about the fact that it's more than just that. It's so much more than just a translation of the physical land or the literal land itself, that there's more to the meaning of that terminology, that it's more than just a description of just the land.
Yes, it is. Makhoche, it refers back to the land, but within that land, there's a lot of things that ties together. And there's stories about this, about how we came from Mother Earth and how everything came from Mother Earth and how it continues to go forward. In there's certain life lessons that we need to learn on how to preserve, because it all ties together. It's all one big, sincere story that needs to be shared for the sake of the future generations of all people. How we need to walk upon Mother Earth, how we need to have respect for one another, oneself, and how we need to have respect for this creation, Makhoche. All of this creation is very important, and it all ties together. Every story carries wisdom, knowledge. It carries value of how you need to be as a person as you walk upon Makhoche, the land. How you need to be sincere about what you're doing and how you're doing. How you need to think in depth about what is sacred. Creator. Some people say Almighty God, He created this. So whatever He creates is sacred. So we need to think about it in that way. So we need to walk softly, so to speak, upon this creation. Have respect for everything, the water, the wind, the sun, the moon, the stars. Have respect for the animals. Have respect for the water. Have respect for all of Mother Nature as a whole. And then all of these things tie together upon Makhoche. They all come together. And it's symbolized in all different indigenous cultures. The Mother Earth is symbolized. If you see, there's always circles, always this circle of life. And we walk upon this circle of life, no matter what direction we come from in life, no matter what color our skin. We all come from these different directions in life. But we all come together in the center as one, the way it was meant to be, the way it should be. That's the reason why all the indigenous people, their stories, their myths and legends and so forth, their life stories, their creation stories and all this, they all combine. They're all this one big story. They talk about creation, Makhoche. They talk about how important it is to have that respect for Creator, and how to walk upon Mother Earth, and to have respect for oneself as well as all of creation and other mankind. So it goes on and on and on. These stories lead on and on and on. And they say a long time ago, these stories were told during the evening times when it was winter time, fall time. The elderly people, the grandmothers and the grandfathers, they would sit near the fire and they would call the grandchildren over. They would say, "Wana upa wakanja, wana upa uoglakapikdelo." Come on over, we're gonna talk now. And as they sat near the fire, and grandfather would sing on his drum a few songs pertaining to the stories that were gonna be told. Then along the way, they would tell these stories, and each and every one of these stories had the wisdom and the knowledge that needed to be shared to the future generation that were there for the generation that were to come. So this goes on and on. The stories go on and on and on, and they're sacred stories. They're sacred. That's why the old ones, they talk about them. We call them wakanki hena. The old ones tell these stories. The reason why is because the older ones walked upon Mother Earth, Makhoche, for many years. They developed this wisdom and this knowledge, and they carried it, and they're getting close to that time where they're going to go back into Creator's realm. So before they go, they turn around, they share that wisdom and they share that knowledge that was given to them by Creator, by experiencing life upon Mother Earth, upon the Makhoche, on how to be and how to live in harmony upon this creation.
I think that's a good lesson we can all take to heart, definitely. I want to check in real quick to see if we have any questions coming through Facebook, and apparently no.
Yeah.
No questions necessarily coming through.
Attention out there at least, huh?
I thought maybe we'd have a question live now, but that's okay. For folks that are tuning in to watch this morning, and if you're just tuning in with us, we're here with our friend Darrell Red Cloud and live from the Indian Museum of North America here at Crazy Horse Memorial. And we've been talking about, we've been talking kind of coming to the close of this 3-part series that we've done on Makhoche Ki, on the land, and on the ideas of and the traditions of the spirituality of the Lakota people as in relation to the land here in the Black Hills. So if you do have questions that you'd like to share with us online, we encourage you to do so. We'll be in further communication, and Darrell will talk with you more about questions that might come specifically to you. So we can always do that in the comments section afterwards, and we're happy to answer questions as best we can. And this is all part of the cultural programs that we do here at the Indian Museum of North America. Our mission of the organization is to preserve the culture, tradition, and living heritage of Native Americans on the North American continent. So that refers to all Native peoples from the Arctic all the way down to Central America. And that's a wide group of people, but that's a lot of stories and a lot of those things. And Darrell, to your point, all that comes together and it's all connected back to the earth. So one of the things that we're doing with the museum is retelling the story of the museum here through that connection to the earth. And that the story will eventually be kind of a revamping of how the museum is experienced here at the Indian Museum of North America. And the next couple of years, we're revamping the entire exhibits to look at that idea, this connection to the earth, and these ideas of different cultural concepts that you'll experience through the eyes of all those cultures.
Not only that, Andrew, but your education program is getting off a really good start there too, as well. You know, so maybe you might want to touch on that a little bit, and I can as well.
Indeed, yeah. So the ways in which we bring to life these concepts through educational programs, such as this one. This is an opportunity for teaching and working directly with voices from the Native communities, and working with Darrell as one of our educators and one of the people that works with us here to teach and to carry on these traditions and cultures as a presenter. Also in the summer, Darrell's been here with us as a performer, and now in this way, working with us to help to tell these stories and to work in this educational manner so that people will have a better understanding and respect for Native culture and tradition. So some of the programs and the things that we're doing this year, just kind of as a quick promotion for those things, we ordinarily we have, several people coming here to visit us in the Black Hills. And in light of current situation with response to, and in the interest of public health and safety in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, many of our programs are moving to an online format. But we still encourage you to visit with us and to come online to visit with us specifically here. This is the Facebook page here for the Crazy Horse Memorials Museum, the Indian Museum of North America. So if you follow us, facebook.com/IMNA Crazy Horse, we encourage you to come back and follow us and watch where some of these programs happen. We're sharing what our friends and the culture bearers in the Native community are doing right now, from coast to coast, all the different artists that we work with. We're sharing their work on this Facebook page and helping to encourage and show that that culture does go on, that is something that is alive and well, especially at this time. So we are sharing what the artists and people that we work with are doing. We're also doing programs like our Artist in Residence. This, in the month of May, Janice Black Elk Jim and Daniel Jim are doing a two-person artist in residency from their home in Arizona, I believe. And they're online, so they're going to be sharing educational programs a couple of times a week here with us and sharing presentations of the work that they're working on as an artist in residence. So while they can't be here with us in person, we're still carrying on that residency program. We'll also be doing online presentations of different things from the museum. We just wrapped a 3-part series we called Collections Up Close. We'll be doing more of those kinds of programs and more presentations about the collections here at the museum and discussing the other kinds of things that help to bring and highlight that culture and those traditions of Native American life and spirituality. So those kinds of components are coming online as well. And then as the situation changes, and hopefully as things are able to slowly reopen within our country, we'll be hosting on-site presentations and performances as well, once again. So we still continue to offer these educational programs, and you can follow and find out about all these things on Facebook and on our webpage, crazyhorsememorial.org. You can follow the Crazy Horse Memorial on Facebook, or follow us here as well at the Indian Museum of North America, facebook.com/IMNA Crazy Horse. So just kind of a quick plug there about the different things that we're doing this summer.
Yeah, you covered it all. You covered it all there.
I hope so. And it sounds like we do have a question that just came in through Facebook. So hopefully you can hear Lee, our cultural programs manager, on the presentation here. But Lee, what's our question so far?
Yeah, Deb Hopkins asked if Darrell could speak a little bit on what it means to be a matriarchal society.
Did you hear that, Darrell?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I hope for everybody, just to repeat that for those at home, one of our participants asked what it means for a matriarchal society for the Lakota.
A matriarchal society is amongst our people, the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota people. At one time, they were the matriarchal people. The patriarchal came after the European came to the country and so forth. But amongst our people, we say that our lady folks are sacred. They are the ones Creator chose to bring life for mankind to walk upon Mother Earth. So they go through a sacred time whenever they're developing the little ones that they carry. And then they bring life, and they are sacred. They say amongst our people, the lady folks are sacred because of that ability to bring life upon Mother Earth. So from there, our people, they treat our lady folks with respect. They never treat them in any other different way or anything like that. They try not to abuse them or anything like that. And in fact, they listen to them. Whenever the husband and the wife, they would get together and they would talk about things that are happening within the tribe. The husband would ask for his wife's input, his wife's thoughts on what was happening and what needed to be taken care of. So the lady folks would address those issues with their husband. And then their husband would go to the council teepee, and then he would go in there, and then he would tell what the thoughts were coming from his wife and as a couple. And from there, they discussed all the way around for the people. because if it wasn't for the woman, there would be no life. So our people, they gathered in that lodge and they would talk about what the lady folks said and the encouragement and so forth. But out of respect for mankind, for man, the lady folks, they never went about stepping in front of the men folks and things like that at certain times. And likewise, the men folk, they didn't do things at certain times around the lady folks. They always had this respect for one another as a male and a female. But the female really played a very important part amongst our people. And that's why whenever grandmother talks, you have to listen. Whenever she says something, you have to listen. There can't be no, I don't think so. I'm going to do it the way I feel like it. There's, okay, I have to do it like this because grandmother said it has to be this way. And they were the matriarchs of our people. They knew, because of the sacredness that Creator gave them, they knew what to do and how to handle certain situations amongst the people and so forth. So it was very important. Our people were these matriarchal people.
Thank you, Darrell. Yeah. Quite literally in translation, when it comes back to things like the Latin, when the words themselves, what matriarch and patriarch means, mater meaning mother and pater meaning father, meaning that men either were the leadership in a pater or patriarchal or were women. And that's interesting. You bring up that historical perspective because of there are resources that show about groups such as what we know or what was referred to as the Iroquois Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the five nations that came together there. And when there was sort of a clash of cultures, when European explorers were looking to look to male leaders in the Haudenosaunee, it was the clan mother that was the center of that society. And so that was still all decisions that were made within a very complex decision-making process. It was still the clan mother that had that final say, and that was an interesting cultural clash when that kind of came about afterwards. So, an interesting question there from Jeff. Do we have
to go off of that? A lot of people that come to South Dakota or within Dakota country, they think that because a chief wears a war bonnet and so forth, that he's this chief and he walks out in front of everybody and he represents everybody and all of that type of stuff. That ain't the way it used to be a long time ago. The chief amongst our people, they said he walked last. The ones that walked before him were the children, the future generation, the elderly people, the handicapped, then the lady folks. Then behind them, the warriors would encircle them halfway. And then the chief would walk last because he stood for the people in a sincere, humble manner. So they would go first. They would eat the meals first, the children, the handicapped, the elderly people, the lady folks. They would eat. Then what was left over, the chief, that's what he ate. Even if it was just one piece of meat and a drink of water, he would take that. And they said that chief's doorway had many, many handprints on his teepee door. Because of his generosity, the kindness and the respect that he had for his people. They came and whatever he had, whether it be wisdom and knowledge or gifts of different kinds, buffalo hides and things like this, he would share it with the people. It was never the way the world is happening today. We got the chief standing way up here and forgetting about those children and those people that are in need, the handicapped, the elderly, the less fortunate. That way comes from another continent. Our people, and today our people are still trying to honor that as much as we can. In certain areas, our elders, our chiefs and so forth, we put our future generations out there first. Make sure they have something to eat because they're gonna live and walk upon Mother Earth into the future. They are going to be our leader. They're gonna be our people. So we have to make sure that it's gonna be that way. But then in some cultures today, amongst even our own indigenous people, we forget about that. And instead we put the elderly up there, not to disrespect the elderly, but in the elderly, there's a story that goes along with the children and the elderly and how they so close to creation. The children just came from creator. The elderly are going back to the creator. So whenever they get together, they always acknowledge the children first. Make sure they have something to eat, because the elderly say, we've walked upon Mother Earth for many years already. Our time is close, going back to Mother Nature, to going back to creation. The little ones are coming into creation, coming from Creator. They got long ways to go, so we need to make sure to feed them first. And then what's left over, we'll take part of that, and then we'll go. So whenever the people come and they assume that the chiefs are the big bosses, so to speak, that is not the way. The lady folks, they're very honorable. They have love and compassion for all of creation. They protect everything they have, such as the teepee demonstration we had a few weeks ago. They protect that. They protect what will mean something to themselves, the children, the elderly, the people, and they carry that compassion, love, and we all know that, on how that mother loves each and every one, no matter what. So just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have time for just maybe one or two more questions, potentially, if we have any. Lee, do we have any other questions?
No other questions, just a comment from Jason Nelson saying this is a great conversation. So thanks, Jason, for that comment.
Thank you very much, Jason, for that comment. We appreciate it.
I didn't hear it. What did he say?
He loved it.
Okay.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, Darrell, so much for being a part of this, for being a part of these presentations over the last 3 months. We truly appreciate everything that you do in friendship here with us, and for all that you do as a presenter, as a culture bearer, and as somebody that learns more and preserves that culture for the Lakota people, and goes and does these presentations as a speaker. I can't thank you enough for all that you do with us here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I enjoy that. I enjoy working with Crazy Horse, and it's been one of my places where I want to be on this for the sake of our indigenous people, and try to be that correct representative, so to speak. Give that accurate information that was given to me by my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother, and so forth, and try to give a clear explanation about our people, the indigenous way of life, and so forth.
Indeed. And that is also so deeply tied to the mission of this organization, of Crazy Horse Memorial and the Indian Museum of North America here, is to be that bridge to those voices and to the culture. And so we hope that you'll join us again for future presentations where we talk about myriad of different cultures, because the mission of this organization, as we said before, talks about Native cultures all across the North American continent. And so we hope to produce further programs here. And we hope that when the earth is able to heal and things are able to return to what we might call normal, we hope that you can come and join us here at Crazy Horse Memorial when that time comes, and for future programs. Follow us here on Facebook, facebook.com/IMNA Crazy Horse. Follow the Crazy Horse Memorial as well for updates on all the different things we're doing. We'll also do presentations in relation to the history of this organization, history of the mountain and the mountain carving, and all kinds of different stories that we tell here at the memorial. So thank you again for joining us today. Follow us on Facebook for more information on different programs, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Darrell, thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.